Hi, I'm Professor MJ, University Professor from Canada and PhD in Statistics. In today's video, I'm going to investigate the following situation. When a Major League Baseball team goes through a streak of games where they struggle to score runs, should we bet them or bet against them in their following game? Let's dive into it right now. The results in this statistical study are based on data from the 2010 to 2016 regular seasons. In total, we have data on 17,000 games. Suppose a team that I'm going to call Team A has scored very few runs in each of its past 2, 3, or 4 games. We wonder whether we should bet them or fade them in their next meeting, where fading means betting against. The first part of this video is going to focus on the case of a bad 2-game stretch by Team A. Specifically, we're going to investigate the case where they not only lost their previous 2 contests, but they also lost them by scoring very few runs in each of them. Alright, so assume Team A was shut out in its last 2 games, obviously both losses. How did they fare in their following match? Now, how about if they lost their previous 2 contests by scoring a maximum of 1 run per game, or a maximum of 2, or a maximum of 3? Let's take a look at the results from placing $1 bets on or against Team A after such a 2-game losing scoring drought, based on the data from 2010 to 2016.
Alright, so in these 3 columns, you see the outcome from betting Team A, and in the last 3 columns, you see what happened when betting against Team A. Now, if you take a look at the profit columns, both from betting or fading Team A, you'll see quickly that we lost money in all cases considered. So in other words, there is not a single promising betting strategy to be found here. But let's not get discouraged from those findings, because as you will see very soon, the sun is about to shine.
A hidden factor that might come into play is the location of the game. Based on this hypothesis, let's break down the earlier results into 2 separate cases, depending on whether Team A played on the road or at home.
First, let's focus on the top table, which shows the results when Team A was the road team. Well, betting Team A as the visiting team turns out to be a bad idea, no matter the severity of the scoring drought. However, betting against them seems like it could be a moneymaker. As a matter of fact, we won close to $5 by fading Team A after it got shut out on 2 straight occasions. The amount of the winnings is not very impressive though, and the sample size of just 87 games is not sufficiently large to make the results significant. Well, the $7 winnings here were not large enough either. So therefore, we are not going to retain these 2 potential systems. However, we are going to preserve one prospective betting strategy. Yahoo! It says that you should fade Team A when Team A was on the road after it lost 2 straight games by scoring a maximum of 2 runs per match. In this case, we won $16.02 over 1,373 games. Meanwhile, the bottom table demonstrates that betting or fading Team A when playing in front of its home crowd does not lead to any winning system. The only exception might be the case of backing Team A after being shut out 2 times in a row. But once again, the slight profit combined with the low sample size lead me to discard it.
Let's dig a little deeper with respect to the betting strategy I just described. Are there any indications that certain sets of odds provide more lucrative situations?
Alright, so let's assess the role of the money line under the current setting. In order to do so, I have separated the possible money lines into 11 ranges, and we then look at the profit made within each such range. So how was the $16 profit made as a function of the odds? Well, if you take a hard look at the profit column, you'll discover that we lost approximately $11 when the money line on Team A was 2.5 or less, whereas we earned $27 with odds higher than 2.5. But most importantly, those winnings came from a reasonable sample size. So we keep hold of the following betting strategy. So the same as before, fading Team A if on the road and a maximum of 2 runs scored in each of the past 2 games, but we also add another criterion that the odds on Team A must be larger than 2.5. Since we are betting against Team A, we are betting a home favorite, facing a squad who has struggled offensively over its past couple of games. And under those circumstances, we would have netted a $26.99 profit through a 241-91 record.
A good way to gauge a system's reliability is to check its performance across years. We hope to find consistent winnings, as opposed to big up and down swings in terms of yearly gains. So, without further ado, let's inspect the season-by-season performance of the lone betting strategy we have retained thus far.
Now look at this! Oh my god, those are very nice results! We distinguish 6 winning seasons versus only 1 where we ended up losing, the 2013 season. You can hardly hope for cleaner results, so I believe it's time to bring the lucky lobster bell, because it looks like we have a valid system that has a promising outlook for the future. So I do endorse this betting system.
We now switch gears to talk about the case of a bad 3-game stretch by the team that we called Team A. We redo the same analysis, but this time in cases where the length of the losing scoring drought was 3.
Let's pretend we had placed $1 bets after a team underwent such a 3-game losing scoring drought. Well, the only budding system might be to bet Team A whenever it lost 3 games in a row while being limited to a maximum of 1 run in each of those contests. But that strategy led to a $6.27 profit, which is nothing to write home about though. And all of the remaining profit figures from this table are negative, except betting Team A after getting shut out, that's a big 0, on 3 successive occasions. However, who wants to trust a sample size of just 10 games?
We now break down the results contingent on the location of the game. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure you are still following.
Well, generally speaking, it's pretty amazing when you glance through these two tables how the winnings or losses were evenly split between the road and home cases. For example, recall how we won approximately $6 from betting Team A when the maximum number of runs scored in each of their past 3 losing games was 1. Well, that $6 profit came from gaining $3.87 on the road versus $2.40 at home. So those are pretty even numbers. So the main conclusion to remember is that the location of the game did not have a major impact on the gambling outcome.
We have only found one system worth of note in this section thus far. But let's see how the $6.27 profit was obtained as a function of the money line. Such small winnings is nothing to get overly excited about. Ooh! If we can find a range of odds where the profit was at least between $10-15, we might want to put this system through the final validation step called the season split. Otherwise, we're just going to wave the white flag.
That's it. I am capitulating. Betting odds higher than plus 150 yielded close to a $10 profit, which is not large enough for it to be seriously considered for future use. And since those gains were obtained via 7 full seasons, that equates to approximately 1.4 units per year, which is negligible and not worth the risk in my humble opinion. So in conclusion, there is not any promising gambling system based on the 3-game losing scoring drought. But why not take a look at a streak of length 4?
We now explore the bad 4-game streak situation. The sample sizes will keep dropping and dropping, as we now require Team A to have gone through a stretch of 4 straight games where they lost and did not score many runs in any of them, which is seldom seen.
Here are the results from placing $1 bets on the game that followed a 4-game losing scoring drought by a team that we called Team A. Well, the most fruitful case seen in this table is plus $6 when fading a team that lost 4 consecutive games, all of which ended by scoring 0 or 1 run only. Under this context, we would have won 16 bets and lost 9 during a 7-year period. What? Just 25 bets over the course of 7 years? That's way too small and unreliable.
Why don't we break down the results depending on whether Team A played on the road or at home? Let's see what we get.
You can spot a couple of profit figures that are higher, $8.89 and $11.50. But such amounts are not super meaningful. I dug deeper with respect to both options. I'll omit the details from the $8.89 case because it did not lead to a promising system. But we'll keep the other case for further checks.
The system we had unveiled in the previous section claimed that you should bet Team A when playing at home after undergoing a 4-game losing streak where they did not score over 2 runs a single time. Let's look at the odds split under this setting.
Well, we managed to increase our winnings by staying away from the case where we bet big favorites, which is the very first row in this table, corresponding to cases where the odds were between 0 and minus 200, or 1.5 in decimal format. In this situation, our profit turns out to be $15.18 over 103 games. So once again, those are borderline acceptable numbers.
We've decided in this section to keep track of one so-so system. Looking at its performance across the years might help us decide whether we want to use it in the future or not.
Well, the consistency isn't bad nor great either. We note 5 winning seasons compared to 2 losing ones. The results are relatively good, albeit not great.
Thus far, I have required Team A to be undergoing a scoring drought and to have lost all of those games.
Yes!
The goal was to make sure Team A felt like things were going badly. Now, what if we remove the condition of having lost all of those games? Would the results improve? Do you know the answer? I do, but I'm not telling. What? You're offering me free dinner? Alright then, I'll tell you. We might now include a team who came out victorious in one game during the scoring drought by winning a low-scoring game, for example 2-0. I have scrutinized this modified version of the scoring drought effect to see if we can find a more profitable system. Let me summarize quickly the findings. In the vast majority of cases, the profit amounts were decreased, sometimes huge deteriorations, compared to the situation where we required all previous games to be losses. In the end, I could not find a good system when removing the losing requirement. For more details, including numbers backing this statement, go to professormj.com and look for my blog post entitled The Scoring Drought. Ultimately, we came up with one definitively good betting strategy, yeah baby, and 2 that were borderline acceptable. Depending on your risk tolerance level, you may want to either just adopt the first one or all 3. Now, if you asked me, I would contend that you should just focus on the first one. Let me recap quickly the set of conditions for all 3 systems.
Alright, so first let me clarify something. In the previous clips, I just mentioned that we came up with 1 good betting system and 2 that were borderline acceptable. I don't know if I was under the influence of alcohol when I shot those videos, but there's only 1 borderline acceptable system that we covered. Alright, so now let's look at the scoring drought betting system and recap clearly what it's all about. So we have a team that we call Team A, whose past 2 games went as follows. They lost both games by scoring a maximum of 2 runs per game, which is why it's called the scoring drought system. Now, if Team A's next game satisfies the following 2 conditions, they must be on the road and their money line must be greater than 2.5. So they must be fairly big underdogs. If that happens, you bet against Team A. What's the gambling outcome from doing so in the 7-year period that we talked about? Well, the profit from placing $1 bets was close to $27 over 332 games which yield a nice ROI, return on investment, of 8.1%. Now, the expected profit that you can make per season is the profit divided by the 7 seasons that we covered, which yields close to $4 per year. So if your average bet is $100, you should expect to earn $386 per season. Yes, sir. Now let's look at the borderline acceptable system very quickly. This time you need to consider Team A's past 4 games instead of its past 2 games. So those 4 games must all be losses, and they must have scored once again a maximum of 2 runs per game. Now you're going to bet this angle if Team A's next game is at home and its money line is greater than 1.5. So we want to avoid cases where they are huge underdogs. And in this context, you need to bet Team A. Whereas remember that the good betting system that we found suggested that you bet against Team A. Now in this riskier system that I don't necessarily endorse, you must bet Team A. Now once in a while I'm going to share with you some great quotes that I've read that I like quite a bit. Here's one. It says, "People who avoid failure also avoid success." I believe that's so true, and hopefully it's going to inspire some people to take action. Okay, so if you're contemplating trying something, well, do it, okay? Don't just be afraid that you're going to fail. Okay, who knows, maybe it's going to turn out great, maybe it's not going to work out as you thought it would, but you're still going to learn from the experience, okay? So go out there and try things.
Yes! By watching this video, you just took a big step towards earning more money via sports betting, which I prefer to call sports investing. Now, that was just the tip of the iceberg. Why don't you watch my other videos showing you clearly and 100% free many more specific winning baseball systems? This is literally like picking up money that's lying on the ground. This is Professor MJ. I'm here to help you crush your bookies. Good job for watching. Keep it up. We'll talk again very soon. See you, my friend.